Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Today we're reading from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Contents of the Gita summarized. That is the title of the chapter. And we will be reading text 62 with the translation, word by word translation, and the purport by Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we will be reading the Sanskrit. This is something new. I don't think we have done that before. I was requested to read the Sanskrit, and some of you will have the opportunity to, after I'm finished, repeat the Sanskrit verse as well, or chant the Sanskrit verse so that others can repeat it. So I will chant the Sanskrit verse first. Dhyayato vishayan pungsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate.
Dhyayato visayan pumsa sangastesu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate ayate.
Dhyayato visayan pumsaha sangastishu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate.
Okay, thank you. So we will continue with the word by word translation. Dhyayataha, while contemplating. Vishayan, sense objects. Pungsaha, of a person. Sangaha, attachment. Teshu, in the sense objects. Upajayate, develops. Sangat, from attachment. Sanjayate, develops. Kamaha,
Desire.
Kamat, from desire. Krodaha, anger. Abhijayate, becomes manifest. Now the translation into English. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. Purport: one who is not Krishna conscious is subject to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects, and the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above-mentioned verse of Sri Ramunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Stapitang Yena Bhutale Swayang Rupa Gadamayang Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchane Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dhinataranam. So again, the translation of the verse. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. So in the purport to this verse, we find towards the end the statement as illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya. A sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment and the association of the Lord. So that verse that is referred to here is found in the purport to text 60. So if you go 2 or 3 pages back, there is text 60, and text 60 has a purport where a Sanskrit verse is quoted, it is indented, and it is put in italics, so you can easily recognize that, and it was written by Sri Yamuna Acharya, a great saint and devotee. It begins with Yat Avadi Mama, etc., etc. And it says, since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it, and I spit at the thought. So here Yamunacharya describes what we can or could refer to as higher taste. When we have sense objects of desire, things that we want to have, we see them, we perceive them, and we automatically want to have it. Already we can see with babies, they are very curious, and sometimes they see something, they want to know what it is, and they want to touch it, they want to put it into their mouth, they want to whatever, perceive it with their senses, and they grab it, and you try to take it away, but the baby will hold on, and I want to take it, no, this is mine now. And already, so you can see already a baby will have this desire to own things, to have something. And of course, when humans get older, not only humans, animals, it's the same with animals, they see something to eat, and they move towards that object, towards that other animal maybe, or towards that food, and they eat it. They want to enjoy it. And also humans, with us humans, it is much more sophisticated. We hear of a good opportunity to make money. I've recently heard of some sort of investment scam. There is always some kind of cheating going on, some criminal activity. People want to make a lot of money, and they try to take the money from other people. They say, yes, you can just give me all your money, and I can give you 50% interest. And people are so greedy, where else can you get 50%? Nowhere, no bank will give you 50%, not even 5%, not even 1%. I have a bank account, and I have the great fortune of having some interest, it's a savings account, and I get 0.25% interest. 0.25%, which is very little. And of that, I have to pay some tax, so it is reduced. So that those 2.5%, they take a quarter of that or a fifth of that and keep it to pay the tax that has to be paid on the interest. So it is very, very little. But people sometimes at the perspective, when they are given the perspective of, allegedly given the perspective of becoming rich, they automatically get hopeful. Oh, I can get rich so easily. I don't have to work so much. I just give my money to this very nice person, and this person will, in some magical way almost, multiply it, and then I will have 50% interest or 30%. And people fell for it. People believed it, not only because the people who were trying to sell this kind of investment scam were very charismatic, but also because they claimed that they were acting on behalf of God. They were religiously motivated. They were trying to help people. We are trying to help the communities. Poor people can become rich. This is our sort of charity. And people lost so much money. And this kind of scamming, this kind of cheating, can be seen over and over again in so many ways. People sometimes think, oh, this can only happen in a poor country. Or this can only happen if you have uneducated people. But all kinds of investment scams, financial scams and cheating like that, they can find their victims in any kind of country. Also in the USA, when was that? 10, 11 years ago, there was the big investment scammer or investment bubble that burst with Mr. Madoff, who was put into jail, and people were very angry because they had lost a lot of money. Very intelligent people, very educated people, but somehow, because they were given the hope that they could become very rich without working so much, they entrusted their money to this man, and they lost their money. That is something that can affect anyone, because the senses or the urges are so strong. They want to enjoy. When you want to sell a product, unless it is something like a screw or little nails or some spare parts for a car, you try to sell an experience, a feeling. You can see that when you have advertising billboards or any kind of advertisement, it is not that they sell, okay, this is liquor, this is tobacco, this is pan masala, this is whatever, or some whatever instant noodles or some kind of spices or food. They will always try to give you the impression that you will have a good feeling when you buy the product. It is one example I saw, and I was almost shocked when I saw it. It was British Airways. They were advertising their regular flight services to India. And there are many Indians, Pakistani people and Bangladeshis who live in the UK. And they were showing different commercials or advertisements that said that British Airways will bring you home. It is not, oh, we have a cheap flight, go from London to Delhi, from London to Mumbai or whatever. They say, we bring you home. And they gave the impression, there was one young man, he lived in the United States, born in India, and he said, oh, I was born in India, born and raised, but now for 5 years I've been living in the US, and I've not seen my mother. And then they showed the mother in Mumbai in her apartment. She was cooking, and she said, oh, British Airways, they have given me the opportunity. They will send one tiffin filled with my home-cooked food. They will send it to US, to my son, and when he will taste the food, he will automatically remember me, and then he wants to come home. And I hope it will work. So what they did not tell her is that it was not the son who was supposed to be surprised with that tiffin of home-cooked food from his mother. It was the mother who would be surprised, because they actually brought her son to Mumbai to her apartment, and then she was cooking and she was talking about her son and showing pictures from his childhood, and then she was crying and said, "I miss my son." And then suddenly the door opens and her son is there, and then they hug each other, they cry, and then they are shown how they sit together in a family, and then they say, "British Airways will bring you home." So you have this feeling. It is a product that they sell, but they want to give you a feeling. They want to make you, give you the impression that you can have, when you give them your money, when you spend your money on that product, you will automatically feel nice, you will have a good experience. So that is the case with any kind of expensive product, be it a car or a condominium, an apartment that you buy. You can have a nice life, you can have a status symbol, you have a nice car. And it is mentioned even here in this purport, Lord Shiva was, let's say, seduced by his wife Parvati. Parvati, by the way, another name of Parvati is Uma. And I recently heard what the meaning of Uma is, or where that name comes from. Parvati, when she was a little girl, she was performing tapasya. She was doing some penance or some austerities, and her mother saw it and she said, "Oh, don't do that. It's not good for you. It's too small." And when she said that, she said, "Ooh, ma," and that is Sanskrit, and apparently it means, "Oh, don't do it." And that is where the name Uma comes from. It's what I heard recently. So even Lord Shiva, the great yogi, the great ascetic, could not resist the urge, and he conceived a son with his wife, who became Kartikeya. And Kartikeya, as far as I know, is also a great brahmachari or ascetic. There is a temple here in Berlin of Kartikeya, and I heard that there are very strict rules, because you have to keep the temple very pure. You cannot not anyone can go there at any time. There are strict rules that you have to keep. Most Hindus will know these rules, but they also say when they expect Westerners, okay, you have to follow this and that rule. You must not have eaten any kind of non-veg food today. Don't bring any forbidden items here, and women can only come outside of their menstruation period and things like that. That is because they want to keep the temple very very pure and very clean, and have a very holy atmosphere. Because apparently Kartikeya can also be disturbed. I don't think he will be seduced, but he will be disturbed. It is a disturbance for him, and out of respect, they want to keep this atmosphere very clean. So the senses always try to find some way of enjoyment. When there is an opportunity for enjoyment, the senses will take it. But we have to see that our senses, the human senses, are very, very limited. Our sense of smell is not as good as that of a dog. That is why they use dogs for detecting drugs and explosives at the airport, because they have a very, very fine or very sensitive sense of smell, a very, very sophisticated nose that can be trained to detect even tiny amounts of drugs or explosives. We humans, we cannot do that. We can smell a flower and it smells good to us, and we smell something that smells bad. It smells bad, but we cannot even switch that off. We have to. The perception is there. I was sleeping with an open window in the recent days, and the smell of smoke was in the air. I smelled it, and it reached my nose, but I did not know where it came from. So the sense of smell is so limited. There's smoke, but where does it come from? It's somewhere in the air. Apparently it's coming from the wildfires around Berlin. It might remind one of Delhi or northern India, where sometimes in the autumn season, there is what they call stubble burning, when they burn the stubbles on the fields and the smoke goes from Punjab and Haryana to Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. Then you have the smell, the constant smell of smoke in your nose and pollution. So, but you have the smell all the time. You cannot unsmell. You cannot make this go away. You can close your eyes, and when there is something that you see that you don't like, you close your eyes. But with your nose, you cannot do that. So our senses are so limited that we can only perceive one thing with our nose, and one thing with our eyes, and one thing with our ears, and some we can have the sense of touch. You know, we can touch something, but when I touch this page of the book, I cannot see anything what is there without my eyes. I have to use my eyes in order to read. I cannot detect colors with my hands. I need these eyes that are already so limited because I need glasses. I'm short-sighted, so if I do not use my glasses, I cannot see what is written over there. I need to put on my glasses so I can read what is written outside. And apparently there is one woman that I heard of that she can in fact detect colors with her hands. She's blind, and she has the amazing ability, allegedly, to touch fabric, and then she can say what color it has. She appeared on German television some, I think, 15 years ago, and she was given different samples of textile. Although she is already blind, born blind, she was blindfolded, so double to make sure that she really could not see anything. And then she touched the fabric, and then she touched another fabric to compare, and then she said that other fabric was white. She knew that it was white. And the other fabric, they did not tell the color, and she was feeling, and then she said, okay, this feels harder, this is blue. And she was right. And then she was given another sample, and okay, this t-shirt has two different colors. This is orange, and the sleeves are red. And she was right again. She was given 4 different samples of textile, and every time she was right. Even a red textile with thin white stripes, she could detect, oh, this is striped. This is red, and it has lighter stripes. I think they are white. And she was right. So she could, with her fingers, detect the colors of the fabric. But when she returned home, she was to her hometown. People recognized her on the street. Oh, I saw you on television. You're a cheater. This cannot be. You're cheating. Nobody can touch anything and see or feel the colors. That is cheating. And she was very, very sad because she was born blind. She's certified blind. She has 1.5% vision left. She cannot see colors. That is medically proven that she is unable to do that. But still, people could not believe because nobody has ever seen it. Nobody has perceived it. And they only think of, based on their own experience, they do this thinking this cannot be possible because it is outside of my scope of imagination. So I would like to, since yesterday was a special day, and today is a special day, and tomorrow is a special day, I would like to make a little detour. Yesterday was the appearance or disappearance day, Tirobhav Mahotsav, I think it's called, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a Vaishnava saint from Bengal. He is one of our acharyas in our lineage. There is a picture of him. You can see him. He is also depicted on the altar. He is the fourth from left here at the bottom. We see these pictures in golden frames at the bottom, and the one that you see as number 4, that is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was a Bengali saint. He lived in Puri. He was a judge also, and he was very well respected by the British colonial people. He was a judge, and they built a railway tracks directly from his house to his workplace, because they knew he's so important, he's so efficient in his work. We should make it as easy as possible for him to go to work, and then they built the railway track in such a way that he did not even have to go far. He just had to step out of his house, and then he could go to work. And he died, or he disappeared, he passed away in when was that, 1914. And yesterday was the anniversary of that passing, or this, as we call it, disappearance. He did not disappear, he is not missing, but he left our material vision. And he was one of the very important saints of our lineage. And he was very much involved with the Jagannatha temple in Puri. And Puri, as you might know, is the very beautiful coastal city in the state of Odisha at the east coast of India, where there is a big temple, the Jagannatha temple. And you might not know it, but these deities here, they also come from Puri. The deities, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and the Sudarshan Chakra, they are made of, the deities, the bodies are made of wood. And every 12 to 19 years, there is a ceremony called the Nabaka Libra. They get a new body. So there is something inside the belly of the deities. There is some opening, and that is the Brahmastan. The Brahmastan, where the Brahma is like the life force of the deities. And every 12 to 9 years, they take that out and transfer it to new deities. And when that is done, there's many ceremonies involving that. And when that is done, everything is dark. They switch off all the electricity in the entire city of Puri, and only very few people can enter. And they are blindfolded, and they are given something around their hands so that they cannot feel what is actually inside. It must be kept secret. So they go there and they transfer from the old deities, so to say, to the new deities. And the last Nabaka Libra was in 2015, and the one before that was in 1996. So for every Nabaka Libra, they give this. They can calculate that astrologically, and before that, or when that happened, or before the Nabaka Libra, they had to pick trees to carve the deity, for the wood to carve the deity. So there's many different ceremonies and very elaborate ways of finding these trees. There have to be very special criteria have to be met. It's not just any tree. Those trees must be, of course, big enough, but and need to be of a certain species. It's always a neem tree, as far as I know. But there's always the pujaris, those pandas who do the seva in the temples. Certain pandas, they dream the location of the trees, and then they go there. They go in a large group, and then they know, okay, the tree for Jagannath has to have a termite hill at the foot of the tree, and there needs to be a cobra somewhere, and they look for that tree, and then they find, okay, there's a tree at the spot where the pujaris that has appeared to the pujaris in their dream. There is a termite hill, there's a cobra, there's certain other signs, and then they know this is the tree, and then they will start the ceremony, cut down the tree, and also the same for Jagannath and Subhadra and the Sudarshan Chakra. So they bring the trees to Puri, and then they make the deities, they carve the deities. And the king of Puri, there is a king who is who used to be in charge of also the temple affairs, but I think they took it, the government is now in charge for quite some time. And that king, he visited Germany. He was here in Berlin in 1994, I think. And he was so impressed that there is also the worship of Krishna here in Berlin, that there is also a sort of Rathayatra and so many nice kirtans and programs going on, that he said, I shall donate deities, I shall commission deities to be carved out of the same wood that is left over from the Nabha-Kalebra. So when the big deities were, when they had finished carving the big deities, the wood that was left over was used to carve these deities. So the Jagannath that you see here was carved out of the same tree, the same wood that they used for the Jagannath, the big Jagannath in 1996. So these deities have appeared here in, I think, 1998. And so that is why we have this also a very strong connection to Jagannath and the pastimes of Jagannath in Puri. So today in Puri there is the Gundicha Marjana. Gundicha is the name of the wife of King Indradyumna. And after her, a temple was named. That is the Gundicha Mandir. So when you go to Puri, there is the big Jagannath temple, and there is a very wide road. It is around maybe 3 kilometers long. It is called the Grand Road. That is where the Rathayatra is taking place. Will be taking place tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Rathayatra in Puri. The first day of the Rathayatra. So they take out the deities from the temple, the big deities, very, very heavy, and it takes a long time. And there are so many different ceremonies, and they put them onto big chariots. They started making these chariots 2 months ago, and then they are put onto these chariots, and then one after the other is leaving. So many people, they go there. I was there in 2015. It was the so-called Nabha-Kalebra Rathayatra, the first time that the new set of deities showed themselves to the public. And I don't know how many people were there, but I could read different statements in the newspapers. They said like 3 million, like 30 lakh people, 3 million people, or 4 million, or many, many people. So, and it's very crowded, and then the people, they pull the ropes of the chariots and they slowly move. Actually, it's not so slow, but they stop sometimes, because they pull and then somehow they stop, and then because there are brakes at the front, and sometimes those brakes, they come down and then the chariot stops, and then they have to pull this piece of long log of wood up again, and then they can pull, and then sometime due to whatever reason it will come down again, and then they have to stop. And the many pujaris and pandas that sit on the chariot, they will sit down when that happens, because they cannot stand all day long. And when the brake has been lifted up again, they will stand up, and then they will start banging their gongs. There is a signal coming from someone, and there is a policeman on the chariot with a big red flag, and then he will wave the flag when it is time again to resume pulling the chariots. So they will do that, and they will stop at sunset. So when it gets dark, the procession is stopped, and wherever the chariots are, they will stop at that spot. So it could be that the chariots have not yet reached the other end of the road, so that means they will stay there overnight, and then the next day the pulling of the chariots will resume. So then as the chariots do not start at the same time, one will be at the front, one in the middle, and one farther back. So, and then they resume the pulling, and they should be there at the evening of that second day, at least. Or sometimes if they are quick, they could be there at the evening of the first day. So, and then the deities remain there in front of the Gundicha Mandir. The Gundicha Mandir is the summer residence of Jagannath. Jagannath goes out of the Jagannath temple, the regular Jagannath temple, and it is said that it is like Krishna leaving Dwarka and going to Vrindavan. So there is the Vrindavan Leela of Jagannath, of Krishna. He's as a small boy, he is in Vrindavan, and he has all those animals around him, and there is nice flower gardens, and his friends are there, and many cows are there. And then there is the Dwarka Leela, when he assumes the role of a king or a prince and lives in a palace or in different palaces with his different wives. Yes, it is said that he has 16,108 wives, all at the same time, and he can be there for all of them at the same time, each one of them having their own palace. So only Krishna can do that. So there is this comparison that the Rathayatra is like Krishna leaving Dwarka, going back to Vrindavan, and then he stays in Vrindavan, which is symbolized by the Gundicha Mandir. And then this is what is happening, will be happening tomorrow. He will leave the temple and go towards the Gundicha Mandir, and today is the Gundicha Marjana. It is the cleansing of the temple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also an incarnation of Krishna, whom we find over there at the feet or in front of Balaram, he is the one on the right on the pink lotus. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was also in Puri. He lived in Puri for a long time, and he also participated in the cleaning of the temple, which is also described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so he was cleaning the temple, he was preparing the temple so that the deities could go there. Because this temple, the Gundicha Mandir, for most days of the year, it is empty. There is nothing going on in the main building. There is different buildings there. I had the great fortune to go there and go inside, not to the actual temple, but to the garden of the temple. Somehow there is some policeman or security man, and they say, "No, you cannot go. You are white. White people cannot go. They cannot enter. Only Hindus." And for some, usually I read somewhere that is the usual thing that would happen if you go there. But I read that even Westerners can go there. They just have to pay some fee or something like that. If it's not during the Rathayatra time, it is, And I was there some years ago, and I thought, yeah, well, I can try. And somehow they let me go. And I paid the entrance fee, and I could see the garden, which is not so spectacular. There are some trees and some greenery, and then there is some smaller shrines, smaller buildings with altars, one for Shakshi Gopal, for example. So anyway, when the deities go there after they have arrived coming from the big temple, they will stay in that Gundicha Mandir for some days, and then it is said there is a festival called Hera Panchami. That is when Lakshmi Devi, who is very impatient, then she goes out of her, because she is left behind in the Jagannath temple, and she gets angry and why is my husband, why is Lord Narayan, why is he gone? He must be coming back. And then she goes there, and there is another procession on that day, Hera Panchami, and then she goes out and she goes to Jagannath and says, you need to come back. You cannot just leave me alone at home in your Jagannath temple. So it is said, allegedly, that she gets very angry, and in order to appease her, it is a story, I don't know if it's true, and some people will dispute it. Certainly some Bengalis will not like it, but it is said that due to that, in order to appease her, they invented the rasgulla, and that is when they offer rasgullas to her. And so for many people from Odisha, the rasgullas are intrinsically are sweets from Odisha, and that is why there is some little dispute, because the Bengalis will also claim these sweets are from Bengal. Those are traditional Bengali sweets. They were invented in Bengal, and then the ones from Odisha will say no, they were invented here. And there's some little dispute. Some years ago they wanted to have a I don't know what exactly it was, but they were advertising rasgullas, the traditional sweet from Bengal, and then the people in Odisha were kind of frustrated. They are advertising our sweet as theirs, because some sweet maker in somewhere in Bengal, he allegedly was the inventor of the rasgullas. So there is always some dispute where the rasgullas come from, but Lakshmi Devi in Jagannath Puri is offered big pots, huge pots full of rasgulla. You can see pictures on the internet, pots like this full of rasgulla, in order to appease her. And then after some time, Jagannath will go back to his temple in the same way, also the same 3 chariots, and will go back. That is called the Bahuda-yatra. So that will take place in some, I don't know, more than 1 week. And Jagannath is very, very famous for prasad. And I once got a book by some friends describing all the different details of how Jagannath is worshipped, what kind of food he gets, and it is described how the food is cooked, what kind of spices they use. It's all very, very traditional, and it is the biggest, from what I heard, the biggest temple kitchen in the world. So very, very unique. Even the rituals in the temple, they are unique. You cannot find them anywhere else in the world. And also the pujaris who do this kind of worship, it is said they are descendants from demigods, from devatas. They have a certain gotra. You cannot just go there and apply and say, I want to be pujari, I want to be pandaji here in this temple. No. It is inherited, and there is certain procedures or certain rituals that can only be performed by tribal members of certain tribes. So you need to be have tribal ancestry for that. So it is very, very special, and can only be found in Jagannath. And what is very famous, or Jagannath is very famous for the Mahaprasad, Jagannath Mahaprasad, and prasad is a Sanskrit word and means mercy. And mercy is something that is, by definition, distributed freely. It is something that is given without discrimination. And I recently heard a very nice quote from the English poet Shakespeare. He is very well known, even in India. I was in Kolkata recently. There is a Shakespeare Sarani. There's a road named after him. So, he wrote a theater play called The Merchant of Venice, and there is one, der Kaufmann von Venedig in German, and there is one character named Portia, and he says, the quality of mercy is not strained. I will read it in German also. I have it in German here, but I will read it in English. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives, and him that takes. And it goes on, but I will read the German of that. Die Art der Gnade weiß von keinem Zwang. Sie träufelt wie des Himmels milder Regen zur Erde unter ihr, zwiefach gesegnet. Sie segnet den, der gibt, und den, der nimmt. So both people, those who give and those who take, they will be blessed. And that is why we also are very fond of giving or distributing prasad. Prasad, as I said, meaning mercy. So when you give mercy to other people in the form of Mahaprasad, of this special food offered to Jagannath or offered to Krishna, then people will make a lot of spiritual progress. And those of you who have this Hindu background or Indian background, you all know when you go to the temple and you get some prasad, you have to take it. You cannot just say, "Oh no, I'm not hungry." You have to take it, and then you eat it, and that is good for you. And sometimes you take it and give it to your family members or to strangers even. You can. I've seen it that in the Govindaji Mandir in Jaipur, people buy prasad. They stand there and they give to everyone who comes, and people come, they see, oh, someone's distributing prasad, they're eager to go there, and they open their hands, and then they take the prasad. Because the prasad is one way of engaging your tongue. It is said in this text that we have talked about today, that the senses always are eager to get something, and they want to enjoy. So let your tongue and your nose and your eyes enjoy by seeing the deities, by smelling the incense and tasting the prasad. That is a sort of enjoyment that is authorized. You can enjoy as much prasad as you want, maybe not too much, but you should not get ill, but you can enjoy and taste the prasad. You can have direct contact with God. People ask sometimes, "Oh, I don't believe in God. Have you seen Him? Do you really believe in what you say? Have you seen Him?" Yes, you can see. You need to have the right eyes, the right consciousness, then you can really see, and you can even taste. In the Nectar of Instruction, the Upadeshamrita, which is a book written by one of the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, it is said, Vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam, jiva vegam udaropasta vegam, etan veganyo vishaheta diraha, sarvam apimang pritivingsa shishyat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So we have this Krodha, it is mentioned here, Krodha Vegam, the urge or the actions of anger. Anger is mentioned here in this verse as well in the Bhagavad Gita. Krodaha, Kamat Krodo Bijayate. Bija is the seed, and Abhijayate means that it becomes manifest. From the seed it grows, so there is anger, and we can control this anger and this lust by engaging our senses in devotional service, which we can do by, for example, chanting, doing kirtan, and also by eating prasad. So that in that way we can control our tongue, or we can engage our tongue, because you cannot, it's impossible not to use your senses. They are somehow active. Scientists have been able to create a room where no outside sound can penetrate. It's very thick walls, and they can measure with very sensitive measuring devices, and no sound can come inside. And people have gone in there and they became crazy because there was no sound, and they were sitting there and they were like, "What is this? There is no sound." And they could hear their own heartbeat, they could hear their own breathing, but nothing else. No outside sound, no birds, no cars. And they turned crazy. One person managed to stay in there for 45 minutes, but that was the longest period one could ever stay inside there, because their mind was making them crazy. So you have to engage your senses. You have to do something with them, and it is best to do it in the service of the Lord. And I would like to conclude, because I know that the time is already running away. I have mentioned Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose disappearance day was yesterday, and he wrote a prayer that we will also recite before we eat prasad. It is Sharira avidya jal, jotendriya tahekal, jive phele visayo sagore, taramaje jivayate, loba moi sudurmate, takechita katina sangsare, Krishna boradoya moi, kori bar jiva jai, swaprasad anu dilo bai se anamrita pao, Radha Krishna guna gao. Ko Chaitanya Nitai. That is a prayer in Bengali that he wrote, and it means basically this material body is a network of ignorance, and the senses are one's deadly enemies, for they throw the soul into the ocean of material sense enjoyment, because they always want to have something. Oh, there's something nice I can smell, something nice I can see, I want to have it. Among the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and verily wicked. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. Oh brothers, Lord Krishna is very merciful. Just to control the tongue, he has given us the remnants of his own food. Now please eat these nectarian grains while singing the glories of their lordships, Sri Radha and Krishna, and in love call out Chaitanya Nitai. So we will have the opportunity in some minutes, after a little blessing coming from the altar, after that we will have the opportunity to engage our most voracious and verily wicked tongue by eating prasad. So I hope that we can all enjoy the prasad. Please stay a bit longer. Maybe you have some questions or comments concerning this presentation, doubts maybe, or any kind of statement you want to make.
Yeah, I have a question about I heard there's usual food that we offer to the Lord is prasadam, and there's also Maha-Prasad, you said. And I think I don't really get the difference.
Maha-Prasad is the prasad that is directly on the altar, because we cook sometimes, like for the Rathayatra, in 2 weeks, we expect many people to come, hundreds of people. And so somebody will be cooking for hundreds of people. But you cannot bring all of that food in front of Jagannath. That is basically what they do in Jagannath Puri. They put it into big pots. They put it in front of Jagannath. There is Jagannath's altar, and then there is a special space that is reserved only for piling up the offerings for Jagannath. I think it's called the Bhoga Mandap, but I'm not so sure. Maybe it has a different name. But it is the space specifically meant only for Jagannath's lunch, dinner, breakfast. He eats a lot and often every day. And they put the prasad there, and then it is offered to the deities, and they eat. They can eat through their eyes. They don't have to reach out and touch it and ingest it, but they can eat with their eyes. This is what we cannot do, because, as I've mentioned, our senses are very limited. They can only do one thing. As I've said, our hands cannot, most of us cannot feel colors with our hands, for example. But Jagannath can, or the deities can eat with their eyes. You show them the prasad and they eat it. So that prasadam in Puri, that prasad is, all of that is Maha-Prasad. However, we do not have the possibility to offer huge containers to the deities. That is why we take a little from the pot and put it onto a plate, and that plate represents the other things that are in the kitchen, that remain in the kitchen, and then we offer that to the deities. That thali, that plate, with bowls and cups and so on, there will be food on that plate. It will be offered to the deities. The deities eat that food. They enjoy the food. Basically, it is said that they eat the love that you have put into the cooking into the preparing of the food, and they eat it, and then you can take it after some time. And that on the plate is the Maha-Prasad, the high, supreme mercy. That is why Maha-Prasad. And the other prasad that is in the kitchen, that is also prasad. It is also basically non-different from Krishna, but it is transcendental, it is spiritualized food. But the Mahaprasad is even more special. It's even more, I think it's more powerful, is it not? It's more special, even more special than the actual prasad. So, and I don't know if this is an authorized practice, or if it is done so widely, but sometimes you see that the Mahaprasad from the thali that has been on the altar is taken and put back into the pots, and then you mix it with the rest. So basically everyone gets a bit of Mahaprasad. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't do that, you should separate it, but if everyone can benefit, then I think it should be, I think it is authorized. But that's what we do, and what I have learned how to do it. But yeah, that is how we distribute the Mahaprasad among the people. So any other questions or remarks? So I think we can conclude. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.